Foul tarnished. Welcome to the Comrades Between. We are discussing the absolute masterpiece of, and maybe the high. I don't know. I may get attacked for this. The highlights, the pinnacle so far of Hidetaka Miyazaki's career. The kind of culmination of all the learning experiences that From Software has had with their previous games, creating Elden Ring.
That's what I would say. I would say, from an objective standpoint, it is the culmination of everything they've learned in systems and games combined together into one beautiful open world masterpiece. Whether or not you want to say it's his best, that's, that can be a personal preference at that point of, your flavor of whether, Sekiro with a more straight story, linear exploration, more akin to Dark Souls 1, or Dark Souls 1, the more esoteric. You know, Dark Souls 1 is a beautiful, like a beautifully laid out game. The way that the levels intertwine is.
We all know Dark Souls 2 is the best.
What? What?
But I feel like we've neglected.
He said something, but as he said,
no, I think I said it. I think I said it. So yeah, we're talking about Elden Ring because it's Shadow of the Erdtree month. We are mentally preparing ourselves both in terms of the podcast as well as physically preparing for that to drop at the end of the month here. I think I've discussed it on previous podcasts that me being a dumbass and Elden Ring being my first Souls game, I stupidly went into New Game Plus at the end rather than waiting for the DLC. And not being a game replayer, I'm not doing a full new run. So I have to just do my New Game Plus run and live with the consequences whenever the DLC drops. When I think about it, I don't know why I did it, why I did New Game Plus, because again, I'm not a game replayer. So it's not like I was going to play New Game Plus. I don't know why I didn't just leave it there. I don't know why. I thought
I know why.
I tricked myself into thinking
because
maybe
a pop-up
this
menu popped up and you were like, yeah, I agree with that pop-up menu.
Yeah, there's something like
you
that.
Just clicked a button.
There's something like that, or it was just like, yeah, maybe this will be the
way to
this
change
not
your save.
Not on PlayStation.
I mean, there was a possible
I tried doing a cloud back, like a cloud thing, and it was they were synced. They were synced and updated, and so it was too late.
That's the only way you would have been able to pull it off, is if your cloud sync was still behind, so you could have.
Yeah, I tried. I was when I rebooted up. That was the first thing I tried, but it's Jover for me, folks. So yeah, starting next couple days, I'm gonna be re-entering the Lands Between on New Game Plus to
get myself in the mood. I watched a new challenge run yesterday, and the reason they were doing it was to get like warmed back up and to get back to the point for where the DLC would be. Have the game beaten and ready to go. And he got about halfway through, and it was like noticeably rusty. Being away can dull the senses.
Oh my god! I mean, when I rebooted it, I'm just like, what is this fucking game? I know that what the shoulder buttons do. Like, I was like, how do I pull this up? I've been racking my brain. How do I call Torrent? It's like, what the fuck? It's like, how do I call the horse?
Isn't it?
Where is the horse?
Come on.
I don't remember that being
triangling up.
Yeah, can you tell me how?
I'm pretty sure it's hold up on the D-pad, isn't it?
It's just hold up. Okay, I knew it was up on the D-pad, but I didn't know if you had to do something else with it.
I think you just hold it.
Yeah, I decided just now. I just made the executive decision in my mind. I'm buying it on PlayStation today.
Starting
over. Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, you got time. You got time, right?
Yeah.
It's as of recording, we've got like got like 20 days.
I mean, there is something to be said about when you've played these games. Once you've beaten a boss, there's like a mental hurdle you've surpassed.
Yeah, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can also skip ones like because you've beaten them
Yeah.
in your
Yeah,
other
I mean,
playthrough.
and yeah, just to like get yourself right. You don't. It's not like you have to beat the game to
Yeah. I
do
mean,
this DLC.
you can go all the way to endgame only doing like Godric and Renala, and then just going straight to the capital and fucking speed running to the finish. Maybe hating
and then
yourself a
just
little
doing
bit
the
at Fire Giant, but
yeah, so we just like figured, it's Elden Ring month. It's back in the public eye. It's back in the discourse for
never
multiple
been gone.
reasons. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
never been gone.
never left.
I mean, did you
se-
see
I have seen a
every time I
resurgence.
send that like monthly sales number, have you noticed Elden Ring is always just like hanging out in that sales chart somewhere?
Still, yeah, it is pretty amazing how it continues to sell copies. But yeah, there's like for various reasons, whether the DLC and was kind of reignited a Twitch meta with Kai Cenat doing his run of the game. But like I've noticed like a pickup in like my own like kind of social media algorithms of seeing a lot more clips
Yeah,
and
everyone's
stuff
getting
just
back.
getting
They're
back into
getting
it.
warmed up.
Yeah.
Giving them free
I can
marketing.
already tell that I'm gonna go back in with Final Fantasy fingers, and I'm gonna be like,
Same. Yeah.
Because it's face buttons, right? It's
yeah.
if mashing with face buttons, you're gonna kill so many flasks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just thinking you're mashing away. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah. So
Triangle and up is how you call torrent, by the way.
Yeah,
Yes,
there it
I got
is.
it on my second guess.
I did not remember it being two inputs.
I knew it was two inputs.
Yep. It is.
Because it's not because I had mapped a flask to the D-pad, one of them. Because what else? There's like that's
Triangle
where
is
like
the
you put
main.
your tonics.
Triangle
and shit.
is like the main.
Yeah.
Triangle is the main key where you do multiple inputs. Like I remember
Yeah.
like doing triangle and L1 and R1 is how you double hand that
Yeah.
hand's weapon and stuff like that.
I mean, this is the one game where my playing it on PC, it's the one thing that I like about it on PC for me is that I have the extra back paddle. So I have two back paddles versus my PlayStation with just the singular back paddle per side. So I can get more stuff off the face button so I can keep my fingers on the sticks constantly.
Yeah. Particularly with probably the most radical change, right, to this game from a
Dripping.
for a traditional Souls game is the jump button. Is a dedicated jump
Mm,
button. Yes,
Real Souls heads know that jumping's always been there. You just sucked.
I remember my like only at this point experience with something similar was how jumping works in Lies of P. You have to sprint
Yeah.
and hit the dodge button
Yep.
and it turns into a jump.
Yep.
And
It sucks. It doesn't work very
it's
well.
terrible. And there was
You,
like
you,
it was the one section where you actually have to use it is like you're in this like mill thing and there's this big gear that's turning
yeah.
and there's two, that's bisecting this walkway, more like a scaffolding, and there's like one tooth missing in the gear, so that's the gap. So you have to run and time that really complicated, overly complicated button press to get that
I
one
mean,
jump and
my
not get
favorite part
smacked
about
off. And
early Souls jumping is landing and then rolling right onto the edge, and then turning and the turning being really jank, and your turning animation is stepping your other foot off the edge, and then you fall.
beautiful.
Nice.
It's masterful game design, really. Like I've always said, these games are comedy games when you approach them with the right mindset.
People always say they're difficult, and I say it's not really about how hard the game is. It's more about how hard it is to be patient.
Right.
You just have to be willing to accept that there's going to be some silly spoofs and goofs where you walk through a door and you get stabbed in the back, or you're going up a staircase and all of a sudden boulder.
Yeah.
Or,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just like they are
oh
masters
shit, that enemy
at
killed me. Why
trolling.
am I in a different place than where I was before? This isn't where I was.
They're just masterful trolls, which is one of the best things. So it's like you just have to kind of let it wash over you and shift your mindset, right? And everything will work out in the end, right?
You must become one with their troll. Like you must
you have
take on their trolling mindset as well to understand.
There are two ways you can go about it. You either have to be willing to adapt to the troll, or you have to troll them back.
Yeah, you have to become the troll.
Yeah, I'm one with the just empty your mind into the and let it wash over you and let expect the unexpected, be ready for anything. I don't think that you could out troll them. I'm not too
like Buddhist perspective to
exactly.
Speaking with hubris is the only way.
Exactly. I'm not too hubristic to try to tempt them.
I've beaten enough of their games where I can.
Even I've beaten enough now where I can smell when somebody's hiding behind a corner.
Yeah. My favorite is when they'll have like one common villager with like a torch, and he'll like run away from you and be like, "Oh no, don't chase me!" And then you'll follow him around the corner. He'll have a whole bunch of big friends.
There are a couple of good examples of that in Demon Souls.
Yeah,
they really did a couple of those where they like, yeah, oh no, I'm so helpless. You definitely can't get some free souls from me, and then you're like, haha, I'm much more much stronger than you are. You will learn to rue the day you cross my path, and then they lead you into an ambush with
record scratch, insert Piper
guards.
Pyramid.
Yeah, it's you just get ganked to hell. I do think a lot of that adaptability mindset that you can achieve is much easier in something like Elden Ring.
Elden Ring is the best example of it.
It's because it really comes down to, and this is not anything new. It's not anything that anybody hasn't said a million times over, but it comes down to the open world design, right? It's the fact that like, oh yeah, I just lost like thousands of souls, but like, okay, I'll just go to another area and
once you get to the Zen part of your mind where souls don't matter, and then it's just a number on the screen, and sometimes you'll go to a resting point and you'll be able to use them, and sometimes you won't, and that's okay.
It's like there's a way that like the grinding to gain levels in the more linear ones are more frustrating just because it's more rote. It's the repetition of doing the same,
real heads know about the struggle of the bridge in Dark Souls 1, where you climb the ladder, let the dragon kill all the enemies on the bridge, go back down the ladder, sit at the bonfire, climb the ladder, let the dragon kill all the enemies on the bridge, sit back at the bonfire.
Yeah, so it's like that like gets like kind of annoying, whereas like you can like grind in Elden Ring without realizing you're grinding, right? There are the farm spots obviously where you can engage in
actively grind.
Where you can actively
do that. There's also spots where you can passively grind, which is hilarious, like in Caelid by Radahn's Fortress. Yes. You can just stand next to that grace, and they will just kill each other, and you will just get passive souls or souls.
With the two factions fighting each other. But it's just like there's you can approach it on your own terms in that way, right? You're like, if you're like, oh, I just like need to grind out like like 10k souls just to get a level up before going to this boss, it's like, oh sure, I'll just hop down to Mogwin Palace and and genocide a few Albinorics like real quick.
Or just sit there,
So
shoot the
first
crow
things first,
dude, sit
with that
back at
term, they're
the
not technically
grave.
alive. So they can't technically die if they're not technically alive by bingo bango law term, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh, but then it's just like
Reddit Esquire.
when you, but then when you get like you come up against a boss that you're just like, man, I can't fucking beat them. You just rather than going and just grinding for an hour on those sections, you can just be like, oh, I only have an hour left to play for the day. Like I still want to enjoy myself. Let's just go in another direction and still find new content to engage with, and you're getting stronger as you go.
Yeah.
That is honestly what
Let's go do
allowed
some
me.
caves, get some materials, upgrade my weapon.
Yeah, that is this game's greatest asset to to people who were not from soft games prior to this. Like I had played Bloodborne when it came out because I saw reviews and I was like, this looks pretty sweet. I wanna check this out. It's gonna be a challenge. I played for 2 hours and I never got by like the second bonfire. But there was
And
no
I know
other
what you mean by
option.
bonfire because you're not talking about where you sit the lantern. You're talking about the actual bonfire in the opening area, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Literally, like the first open area, I never got through. I never got through.
There's two roving groups of villagers through
Yes,
there that are.
that's exactly.
If you just walk in there, the timing is they will both be there simultaneously, and you'll get shot, and then you'll get dogs, and then you will die.
So that wasn't very fun for me, and I felt like I couldn't go any other route. But with Elden Ring,
there is no other route.
Yeah, exactly. There is no other route. But with Elden Ring, you have that luxury and freedom, and you can find content that doesn't feel unmanageable.
I mean, to an extent, once you get to the
Yeah.
very, very end, you do kind of railroad a little bit where it's like Fair Missoula to Rune Capital.
You can still leave Fair Missoula though.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's just
not like
more of a
it's not like you're locked there. You just can't progress the story.
Once you're at those final three bosses though, before the end, there's not much left usually to go find. Generally.
Yeah, you've done pretty much all of the other content in the game in most situations.
So what else do you feel like is the strength of this this open world design, and what say the horse is nice.
Horse.
Like the ability to traverse quickly through the open world like that is a game changer. The way that they do stamina so that you're not constantly on your stamina bar when you're not engaged with enemies is a beautiful quality of life difference.
Yes.
I mean, Sekiro didn't have a stamina bar, but played with its own mechanics.
And having just played Final Fantasy 16, one of the things I really appreciate about Elden Ring, because it's one of the only games that does this, is your horse just, because of its nature being a like spiritual entity,
your spectral steed
just appears underneath you instead of it like appearing out in the wild, and then you have to walk up to it properly,
turn around and mount it.
Yeah, exactly. And like have this,
because they obviously want to give players another invincibility frame mechanic to use. Climbing on torrent is an invincibility frame that you can abuse.
And it's just like the speed at which you could just get on your horse and fucking go is incredible compared to that like 3-button input to cut
get on a chocobo.
It's got good,
but in other games too.
Oh yeah,
it's got good mounted combat too. Like the mounted combat, relatively speaking, works well enough.
Definitely my least favorite part of the combat still, but I'll take it. It's better than a lot.
It's better when I'm the only mounted one doing it to people. It's less fun when it's like a knight's cavalry who's also mounted, unless he's on a bridge that I can make him jump off. and do a little silly spoof and goof.
So, Ben, I think to go back a little bit to your question about the open world, for me, they nail with this game driving you to want to explore. And I think they do it through three things. One is good loot, two is good enemy variety and placement throughout the open world, and three is the system of the light of the grace sites and being able to see them in the distance and be like, oh, there's another place I can go, and like forcing you to run to them and looking for them. I think those three things come all together just to make exploration incredibly rewarding. And also, the game looks gorgeous. The art style of this game is fantastic.
The thing that they do very well with the Graces is because it's an open world game and it's not as linear and you're not as, railroaded down a certain path. They've got the guidance of grace that's pointing you like, hey, if you don't know where story is,
Yeah, that's
is
the closest
story.
they come to an objective marker, which is nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this my thing is that, like, it's not to say that Elden Ring, that the Lands Between is not an actually enormous map, because it is pretty big. It is pretty big. With the one fairness of that, like the
Mountaintop is
mountaintop and the snowfields are like
that's
they're
a child in a trench coat.
yeah, they're big, but with actually not a whole lot there. It kind of fills out space, but like where it really succeeds is the density, right? It's that
Well, yeah, because you have
imagine of the same amount of content of this being like an Ubisoft open world, because like eventually when you fill out the map, it's like it does become littered with markers because there's so much there, but it's pretty much all just like graces and like
caves, catacombs,
geographic markers,
ruins.
but it's just like the sheer density. It is both broad but and deep as well, and allows for you to kind of again engage at any level that you want to. You can just stick to the surface and do the main, the core critical path, or you can, go down every single dungeon, every single cave, every single hero's grave, do all these things, find as many bits of loot as you want, and then just it all kind of feeds back into itself, in that like the loot then enhances the gameplay, and the gameplay drives exploration, and it's just it's a constant kind of positive feedback loop, that then leads to challenge, which is always rewarding. It's a
Yeah,
decent set.
the old like EA quote that's famous for the like we wanted the players to feel like a sense of like pride and accomplishment or whatever,
I thought you were
for
going to
where they were
say
trying to
EA. It's in the
justify
game.
Darth Vader
Yeah,
taking 400
that's what I
hours to
think of.
unlock
Yeah.
in Battlefront or something like that.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, yes,
40 hours.
yes.
Yeah. It's like From Software actually does like get the feeling of like pride and accomplishment when you finally like get through that moment or that thing that was stopping you.
Oh yeah.
And do we have to have like the obligatory kind of discussion on difficulty and difficulty settings and that kind of stuff? Like, where do we think this game ranks in terms of difficulty, and how does it affect accessibility?
Okay. Matt, you can share your thoughts in a minute, but my thought after playing this game and really finally clicking with it is that what makes this game difficult is that it operates differently from 90% of the rest of games that people play on a like pretty consistent basis, in my opinion. It asks you to be patient in combat in a way that I really don't know of another game doing it. It's really kind of its own thing with how it requires you to be patient with your
it goes
actions.
against the grain of like the kind of the instant gratification of constant dopamine that you get, like, oh,
I mean,
I'm
this
spamming.
is all clearly people who've never played bonk builds.
But it's
I
like
mean, you just
hack and slash games are really fun because it's just like I'm just mashing the button and I'm just tearing through shit. Whereas like
Yeah.
patience is all about this kind of patient gameplay is about delayed gratification, right?
Mhm.
You're
yeah.
edging
Mhm.
throughout the
Yeah,
combat
yeah,
Oh
encounter.
yeah.
yeah.
This is
Yep.
a game for
It's
gamers.
tantric. It's
Yeah.
I mean,
tantric.
I can speak for myself here a little bit when I say
It is
that
a kink.
when you go through, say, a boss fight, say first try, and you haven't been hit yet, it feels like you're just like seeing the fucking code
Yeah.
and like you've got the read on it. Like
So
that's
I first felt that really when I was fighting one of the Dragonkin soldiers.
yeah.
I had no summon out, and I'm just like dodging its lightning attacks and just
Yep.
fucking it up, and yeah, cleared that thing first try. Felt great.
It it honestly is like more akin to like playing chess or like playing sports at like a high level of like
Move, counter
coordinating.
move.
Mm.
Yeah, like you have to be more patient in that way rather, more than your typical video
To
game
compare it to
is
Final
a
Fantasy VII Rebirth, because that's all I've been playing recently. It's when the people complain about the Rufus fight. It's like it's the one fight where you have to like actually be patient and just like sit back and let the fight play
Yeah,
out.
yeah, because that game is all about momentum. So it's like you have to constantly be acting. You can't necessarily wait to be reactive in that game, which is this one again is more back and forth. So Matt, you were saying something. You were doing a bit about playing bonk builds, but like I feel like those have to be the most patient because animations are so slow that like yeah, you do a shit ton of damage each one, but it's like you have to pick your moments so much more carefully. Unless you
I
can
mean, it
just face
depends
tank
if it
everything.
depends on like the heaviest armor that you're wearing or the
Yeah.
like the rings and your accessories. Like you could be built out in a way that you could just go in there and hold buttons down forward and go.
This fake tank, face tank, you got hyper armor for days. So there are two outcomes here. Either they die or you die. Dodge roll, what is that?
I mean, there countless people. You can go type into YouTube Elden Ring no dodge roll. It's the one of the most popular challenge runs.
Mm.
What are the most common builds for that? Just super bonk builds? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you just wear absolute like heavy armor and you do the things that do like the damage when you hit an enemy and like a third to half of their health bar disappears and you're like, damn.
Oh,
Like you insta stagger them and you're like, oh shit, you're already dead.
Mm.
that's a nice transition then into builds, into our discussion of builds. I
It
think
has
that
the best build layout of any of their games.
and I think
Okay.
it truly succeeds in that like yeah, there's the weapons are so crazy and you can make so many insane builds
There
based off
are
of that.
so many build paths that are incredibly viable in this game.
Matt,
They
is that why you think it's their most successful?
I think overall because it gives more people ways to play the way they want. Like if you want to play Dark Souls 1 as a faith build, you're gonna fucking hate yourself.
Okay.
Absolutely hate yourself for the first one third of that game. You're gonna be like, hey, the only faith spells I get are healing spells that take a really fucking long time to pull off, and they usually get me killed.
Nice.
But here, I mean, you've got countless choices for incantations versus sorceries. I mean, sorceries are incredibly overpowered in this game. Um, like I'm not saying it'll like nerf them if you use them. You're an awful player. Like, but just like they clearly leaned into sorcery is a very powerful path in this world, and I mean that's built into the lore too. If you like really push your glasses up and dig into it.
Yeah, um I can't speak to like the other build variety in the rest of their games very much, but I will say it does feel very different from build to build, the play style. And I think, but it doesn't feel disconnected. It still feels like it's all cohesive part of this world.
You can be a Pokemon master with summons out in front of you, doing spells and incantations from afar and never being anywhere near the enemies that you're killing. You can be a dagger out assassin who's using stealth magic to get in and out of places unseen.
Yeah.
You can use blood shit and just make everything bleed and die.
So what were everybody's main builds and or their favorites from ones that they've experimented with?
So
I'll
go ahead, Matt. Let's hear it.
I was just gonna say I'll always be partial or impartial, partial. I'm illiterate. It doesn't matter.
Partial.
I've always been partial to Bloodhound Fang with Blood Flame Blade. I think that's an incredibly mid to late game build that you can build in the first like 15% of the game, and you can just do that immediately and be winning.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give that a shout out as the incredible way to start your game.
I did really enjoy it, and it's one that I've like taken to, you know, in at least I did something similar in Demon Souls, is the kind of the hybrid mage sword,
Spell sword.
yeah,
Yes.
a spell sword build that like, I mean, Moonlight Greatsword is very fun.
I mean, the Moonlight Greatsword is probably the best weapon overall in the base game if you go on just how it works.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Like
Yeah,
an FP to damage output ratio.
So it's like I like I like the variety that you get to do. You have range capabilities, but then you're also, you know, the ability
Well, you can do that
to get
same
in
build
and do some bonking.
with the Moonlight or the what's it called? The katana. The
Yeah.
The Uji katana? No, the
Yeah.
Uji katana is the
No, the
starting
moonlight.
one.
Oh.
The big one.
Moonlight
Are you
katana.
talking about Moonveil katana?
Or
yeah,
Moonveil.
Moonveil. You could do the exact same build with Moonveil, and it feels completely different. And that's
Yeah.
But I liked I just like, yeah, I liked the variety that I could get into, like, but it didn't feel like I was doing like that I was splitting myself. Like both aspects felt strong and felt powerful. It didn't feel like that, like, oh, I'm not as strong as a pure magic
dude, having a
or
sword in one
pure
hand
bonk.
and
It just felt good,
staff
even though
in
it's
the
probably
other
true.
hand, and having an
Yeah.
arrangement of spells where you could be say you could do the carrion slicer, which is that incredibly fast casting time. And you can get up on someone real quick and just hit them with some pure intelligence power. You know, spike him with that 54 int you push yourself to be able to use Ronnie's Dark Moon. I actually think it's 56.
I think it's 60.
Well,
No, I think
60
that one's
well,
65.
Well, 60 is what
Yeah,
you need to
yeah.
use. Isn't that what you need to use the Carrion Royal Scepter?
Yeah,
It's like,
60
yeah.
is the scepter.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That
Ronnie's
you can
Dark
get
Moon, yeah, might be
super
65.
early in the game and then be like, great, I'll use this.
I'll use this never.
Yeah.
It took me so long to use it, but to the point where, yeah, it was like the, you know, I did use it at times because as soon as like could use Ronnie's Dark Moon, I would use that one because it boosts the lunar magic. But like
Meteor Staff and Rock Sling, my beloved.
I mean, that was that took me that took me so far, but no, it was really the glintstone staff that the one that boosts all glintstone sorceries. So it's like until I could get my int high enough, like it was literally with that in hand, using the Great Blade Phalanx and
Yep.
the Moonlight Greatsword slash was like a boss stagger button. If you could time it so that the blades hit at the same time as your arc did, it would basically that would like insta stagger the godskins. Like that's how I beat the godskins, was just like staggering the shit out of them with those strikes.
Dude, those ball sacks are my least favorite.
Yeah, that's where you
Literally a
got
ball
stuck.
sack and a penis.
yeah,
They know what they're doing. They know what
they
they're
st-
doing.
They do.
The
They do.
move where the is the fat one the
Where he
noble?
goes roly poly oly.
Fat one is
Yeah, I
noble.
think he's noble.
Yeah, so no, it's not necessarily when he goes roly poly. It's when he like blows himself up like the
Yes.
Stay Puft
And then-
Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
and then the other
belly
one-
pops you.
Well, the other one extends.
He goes like he does the D Reynolds
Mr.
stance.
Fantastic.
Yes.
He does the D
yeah.
Reynolds stance. He like the
But he
car,
like extends out.
the
Yeah.
old car
wash.
car lot blowy doll thing. Yeah, no, they're funny. They're silly. The one underneath.
I mean, if you can't see the comedy in that,
the Kaled Tower fucked me up for the longest
one
time.
like I had a couple. There were a couple things in this game, build wise, where it's like Loretta's scepter. I wish that could have been used as both a staff and a bladed weapon.
I agree.
Yeah, because she uses it
That's how
that
she
way.
uses it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was very disappointed by that. I was disappointed at the lack of dual catalyst and seal, right? It's
Yeah.
finger seals.
Yeah,
Because like
were
Demon
there-
Souls had the dual.
Yeah,
one
were
that
there
could cast
any
both
were there
sorceries and
any of those in the game?
No.
Where you could you could do
No.
both. Yeah.
You either could use the sorceries or the spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I always
so
had
that's when like when I
I always had a
into my
decent split
faith
of both
build.
on my spell board, and then I had both finger seal and staff that I would swipe
when I
between.
respect into my faith build, I made sure that I had my intelligence high enough so I could still use the meteor staff. So I went back to using that one, and
Just rock sling.
it was basically the only sorcery I had on it at that point. It was all
I mean,
incantations.
you can
rock
go really
sling.
far in this game with just like dragon incantation. The dragon incantations are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The
rot breath one is.
I mean,
yeah.
Again, as we've said, there's a lot of viable options to playing this game. Like,
and the build crafting is like part of the fun.
Yeah.
And you can
Very
respec,
enjoyable.
relatively speaking,
pretty easily.
There
is a limited number of the larval tiers, but there's a lot. But there's a lot of them. There's still
I think there's 30 of them. I think 34.
I'm trying to decide if I'll respec for the DLC or not.
I wonder if they'll add more.
So this is everyone listening and everyone on this podcast. This is my advice to you. Don't be like, what am I doing going into the DLC? I'm going to hyper fixate and do all this. You're going to find something new in an hour that's going to make you want to wish you did something else.
Right. So that's why I'm going to stick with. I'm
let
what
the
I
DLC
got
flow through you.
I'm going to stick with what I got until I get
Dude,
there.
when I opened the Bloodborne DLC, and within the first like 15 minutes, I found it was like a chain whip club thing. That was like a club in like regular form, but in transformed mode became like a chain whip.
That's cool. I wish I liked the whip weapons more.
Yeah.
I know people use them pretty effectively, but like
it's cool.
They have some incredibly janky hitboxes.
Yeah, I could never get them to work. So a quick question about the DLC, because we'll kind of wrap talking about our hopes and predictions for the DLC, but like, will it work that like you'll still be able to like access different sites of grace outside of the DLC area once you
should be able to
there?
go back and forth?
Because it's like, are they gonna if you want to respec in the DLC, is there going to be a space to respec in the Lands of Shadow, or will you be able to go back to Renala?
Well, because remember, it's also going to be supposed to be a different like leveling setup in the DLC.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. So
It's supposed to be more akin to a Sekiro, like boss gated leveling.
interesting. So like you'll just like do like a blanket like attack power boost like you do in
Yeah.
Sekiro. Interesting. All right, so yeah, what let's talk more about like the and its narrative, I guess, is kind of the way you could do this, but like um the the quests, like there's so we have the main quest, but then wanted to kind of talk about basically the side quests, like the NPC quests. What for the most part, I found most of them pretty fun, pretty good. I ignored a couple, like I didn't do any of the faith ones going into it, like because I
Yep.
didn't do that, and by the time I had spec into a faith build, the gold mask and the other guy were dead.
Mm.
Dude, Gold Mask is a homie.
And who's the other guy in Round Table who will sell you sorceries and shit or
I don't remember his
incantations?
name because it's been a little while, but
'Cause their
he's
quest
a
lines
monk.
are their quest lines are kind of joined together. And do theirs lead to an ending? Do theirs lead to like the order ending?
Yes,
Is that what it
there's the
is?
Golden Order
Yeah,
ending.
you need
Yeah.
to do that to get the Golden Order.
Which none of the homies do golden order. We're not about maintaining the status quo.
I'm not a
Brother
centrist.
Corin.
Brother Corrin, that's right. Brother Corrin and Gold Mask. Um so yeah, favorite quest lines. Like for the most part, I found them all pretty good. Like maybe I found the rewards for them to be a little disappointing. Like the best you could really hope for was like an
For
ancient
sure.
dragon smithing stone. Which sure,
Or their stuff.
useful. Yeah, or
Yeah.
the best outcomes where you get their
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, like yeah, getting like I want to call him Dio.
Roger
Blood.
or
I want to
Roger.
call him Dio, but that's not his name.
No, it's just D.
The D, right. The twin armor was fucking sick.
Blood.
Yeah.
The twin armor was
Blythe.
fucking drip as hell. Dude, that one is probably my favorite quest line because it's tied into Ronnie's quest line,
Yeah.
obviously, which is one of the more rewarding,
Yeah.
both narratively and kind of mechanically speaking. But oh my god, just like no quest made me feel as bad as Bly's quest line ending. And
Dude,
my
From Software knows how to make you feel like shit while you're killing your favorite NPCs.
I mean Alexander's was close, but like he at least
Hmm.
did get his
He died with honor.
he did get his honorable death, whereas for me the ending for Blythe really kind of was doubly tragic because of how it played out for me.
You killed him
I
with gravity.
I've totally accidental because it was one of the
Ah!
it was one of the few instances where I died, but like so did the enemy, but they died just before me, just enough before me
I didn't realize
for it to
that.
trigger. But yeah, it's like we're fighting in the what's that
Dude,
area
trading with a boss and counting
in
the wins still
Caria?
works.
What's
Isn't it
the
a jail? Don't you fight him in
no?
a
No, you fight with him in an ever jail, but no, that's like one of the
okay.
first bits. No, but like you're back near like Ronnie's Rise and
It's at her tower.
yeah, and
Mhm.
and in that
Yeah.
area, like the Three Sisters, and you fight him, and there are just enough like multi-layered bits in there, and like I just like got pushed back and didn't see and wasn't paying attention and fell, and some so I did technically fall first, but then I just like I fall, I'm like in the process of dying, and then just who comes plummeting down right next to me but Blythe, and you see him just reach out and just give his last line of dialogue, and then just fade away, and I still got the kill from it, and I was really upset by it because I was just like, in a way it felt thematic though, to make it as tragic and
Yeah,
as
yeah.
I
and
won't kill you, Blythe.
yeah, as it's like they're like, no, Blythe, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to keep backing away, and just the madness overtakes him until he just kind of plummets to his own demise, and is was truly heartbreaking, and I felt so bad about it because like there's the part of me that like wanted to give him the honorable warrior's death, like to fulfill his purpose as
Yeah,
the
and then he's killed you the
Empyrean's
seventh or eighth
shadow.
time, and you're like, all right, dude, you're time to die like
Yeah.
everyone else in this game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
it's
what
like
happened to me.
so like I got so he died on the first attempt, like right, like I didn't have any other I didn't have any other attempts with him because he just like because I died, but he died with me, and it was just like a real bummer. It was like one of those things
Yeah,
where
as,
okay,
as someone
I
who's
need to
very
turn I
familiar
need
with
to
the
turn the
walk
game
down
off
from
now.
that grace down to his fight,
I was like, okay, I need to turn this game off now and go cry myself to sleep.
put on your wolf mask,
Mm-hmm.
howl at the full moon.
Yeah, you know, the picture, like the meme pictures of the, you know, me being the lone wolf, just sitting there thinking
Yeah,
my dark thoughts in the rain as a wolf man. Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt doing that. Oh, it was tragic. It truly was. I think definitely the strongest quests were obviously the ending,
Yes.
the tied in ending ones.
yeah. I mean, if we're going with strongest quest, it has to be Dung Eater, right?
Which I couldn't get to progress.
I did it.
I I freed him from the jail, but he wouldn't leave. Like I opened the jail and I just kept talking to
You
him
go
and
to
he
the
wouldn't leave.
you go to the moat, you fight, he kills the crab man at the moat, then you fight him at the moat.
Yep.
Is the crab man, is that the bog, is that boggart? What, something
Yeah.
boggart? That's the crab man, right?
Black what was his,
Oh, what's it
like
called?
black
It's blackguard. It's something blackguard, blackguard boggart, something like that.
Hmm.
I
Sounds
think
like a
it's-
I feel
name
like you
George
just
would
did a
come up with.
racism.
blackguard
Yeah.
big boggart.
No, it's not blackguard. It's blackguard. It's
It's
Laggard.
black Elden Ring wiki.
no, that's how that's how it's spelled, but it's pronounced blackguard.
Yeah.
That is how it's spelled, but it is.
Yes.
It is.
Remember, I'm illiterate, so I have to do everything.
You're
as
sounding it out
written.
phonetically. Yeah, you're doing hooked on phonics. It does work for him most of the time. Yeah, like when I was thinking like, oh, weak quest lines, like I don't know, maybe like
None.
like none like that I could really think of, or like maybe like what's his
I mean,
face?
Patches is a little weak.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
like
killed that guy immediately.
I didn't even do it. He
Yeah.
died.
The fact that you killed him on sight without knowing anything about Patches being the bitch that he is throughout From Software.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, like
Yeah. I knew what was up.
He received the swift hand of justice.
Yeah.
Because honestly, his role as a merchant is not very good either.
no.
He doesn't really sell really anything good. So
Well, and you could pick up his ball.
The only thing that he's
right
worth
away.
doing for is the letter he gives you for
for Volcano Manor, right?
yeah, that gets you the boar armor.
Yeah, that's where he shows up. That's
The
where he shows
heaviest
up.
armor
Is Volcano Manor. Speaking of Volcano Manor, I've sent this joke in the group chat. The Prince Charles portrait, people are like, yes, this belongs in Volcano Manor. They're seeing this on the wall in Volcano Manor, would not be a surprise at all.
Yes, it does.
I mean, have we seen him and Rykard in the same room together?
No, we have not.
His fingers are too short and stubby. They're not serpent like enough.
He doesn't have cancer.
That's
He's
in
just
his-
turning into a snake.
Yeah, and that's only in his human form.
Yeah,
that
so
his
the
hands are
transformation
stubby.
stage isn't what you think. First, you have to become a lizard, and lizards have like those fat, stubby fingers, and then you become a skink, a legless skink, and
Yeah.
then snake. It's a tough transition.
And then a snack.
There's what's the the what's the demi-human Bach? That's maybe
Bach.
a weak one,
Dude,
but like
Oh, I
Rip to
like
Bach.
Bach. I like
I killed
Bach.
him.
I mean,
killed him.
it has an
I killed
interest.
him
It has an
too.
interesting end state that I missed somehow. Like I missed him somewhere and didn't get to progress him to go to
Capital.
no, he was. I think I missed him at the Capitol. It's like I didn't. So it's like couldn't
Yeah,
get him to
you
progress
see him at the
to
Capitol, and
Ryle
then you can send
Lucario.
him to Renala.
Yeah, and so yeah, you guys gave him the larval tear and killed him.
Yeah, because that's what he asked
Yeah.
for.
No, but you
Yeah.
can just use the prattling pate. Tell him you're
Yeah,
beautiful.
tell him he's beautiful.
and then he can have
You're
a happy ending.
beautiful.
He can have a happy
It's
ending.
true.
But yeah, for me, I think it's Alex and Blyde.
Are
Those
two of the
my
strongest
favorite.
ones? Yeah.
Those are my favorites. Outside of like the overarch, like to me, Ronnie is like, because of how they do it, almost part of the main storyline as opposed to its own side quest. But yeah,
Which kind of like gets into something that I want to talk about later, just about like, in my opinion, I'm just going to throw it down now, but we'll talk about it at the end because I think again it's one that only Matt really has insight into. I find Ronnie's ending to be like what I would consider the canon ending. But that's just a personal opinion. So here's one that like it's similar story wise, and I am not, nor do I claim
I wanted
to
to
be.
finish the side quests. I was trying to find a name. I had
Okay.
Faye, and I knew I was wrong, but it was close. It was Fia.
Yeah, I like the ending of that one because it's a cool fight. I was a little I was a little over leveled. Like I found the fighting the spectral champions to be harder than the Lich Dragon and Fortisax, but
It's such good callback to the worst fights of Dark Souls 2, where they're like, "Yo, here's the 3 grave tenders, and good luck."
have fun. Yeah, I didn't find I found the dragon easier than fighting.
No, the dragon's just a fun spectacle.
But yeah, that one was good. I liked that she would hold me in my time of need.
Oh, dude, she gives you a debuff.
I definitely held on to the Baldakin's blessing way too long and didn't realize what it was.
So before we kind of advance the conversation, I kind of want to circle back to something we talked about, which was the level design, particularly around Farum Azula. How do you all feel about that one? That's like to me.
Farum Azula sucks.
I don't like the Beastmen. The Beastmen can go fuck themselves.
Yeah,
the problem with Farum Azula is from a structural standpoint is because it's in a semi-destructed state. You have to just constantly be looking up and down for places to like. Yes. Okay, how do I get up there?
The combination of the Beastmen, the boards, and dragons just popping out of nowhere and throwing lightning at your goofy ass was definitely a tough combo.
See, I definitely hated the Beastmen, but I loved the platforming. And you guys had noted, watching me.
Oh, dude, you just like full send the platforming.
And
I applaud your ability to platform in this game. You just go for it, no questions. I'm second guessing myself every button press.
Yeah,
you just are going full steam.
It has great platforming. The platforming is fantastic.
It goes back to Mike's initial mind state of how you play. You empty your mind of all things, all doubts, and you just hit the buttons and you just play the game.
you just be the Elden Lord.
Exactly.
If I already think of myself as the Elden Lord, success is sure to follow.
Elden Lord.
Yeah, success is sure to follow.
I know once I beat Elden Beast, I definitely went over and looked at Elden Beast and Radagon and gave the too small. You can't guard me. Yeah.
There's also like the weird worm guys, like the worm face guys.
Yes,
that are
I do hate those.
One end of.
We love enemies that inflict death blight. We absolutely love it.
Yeah, every FromSoft game has to have the one absolutely
the one
terrible.
insta death.
condition, yeah, sucks. Terror is terrible in Sekiro.
Curse in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Mad or Frenzy in Dark Souls or in Bloodborne.
It's not good. Yeah, that's probably like my least favorite area, although I really liked the Plasudasax fight. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed.
Plassey's that's like a heavy metal cover from like the 90s. Like the Placidusax entering the arena in his
Mhm.
with his wings
Oh,
wrapped
yeah,
around
yeah.
himself
So
with the
it was-
lightning behind it.
It was another one of the fights where I felt like I was truly seeing the pattern. The one problem was just that the run back was fucking awful. That was
Mhm.
that was probably my least favorite run back. Not that it was like that you're running into a lot of enemies or anything, but it's just the length of the run and having to like jump down
Dodge.
and
I think
jump
it's because
down
there's
and
one of the
pause.
priests who cast the lightning
Yes.
incantations
Yes.
that
The
track you
lightning
for way too long.
incantations.
And
Yes. I
So
did that. That run back killed me on its own, like at least 4 or 5 times.
that was probably that one, and then obviously
because
I
that
think
actually
Renala
there's a
has
highlight
one of
right
the worst
there. Because one of the things that Elden Ring does that makes it more accessible than the other games is that most of the boss fights eliminate the run back mechanic with the Stakes of America.
Mhm.
I think Lassie and Renala actually have the two worst run backs.
Yes. Well, once you deal with Renala's simp guarding the elevator, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's just like there was like you have all the fucking glintstone sorcerers that are just taking pot shots at you.
Yeah.
That's the annoying bit there. But that's one of the few that's like, yeah, there is no stake America
Yeah, but that
around there.
thematically that makes sense. Why would Renala
Oh yeah, yeah,
the Stake America
Yeah.
on
she
her
hates,
academy?
Yeah, she hate her. They hate each other, even though
even though they actually love each other.
Yeah, so even though that is her husband. Even
Complicated.
Even though America is her husband, though.
Marriage is a complicated relationship. Okay.
Yeah. So what I had wanted to do next was just a discussion about the lore, but like honestly, there's so much there, and there's nothing that I could cover in the same way that someone like Vati.
www.youtube.com/VatiVidya.
It's just I constantly remain impressed by the lore, and I guess what's a more interesting conversation is and there's been some recent discourse TM about what level of what role George R. R. Martin
Yes.
actually had to play
Yes, I wanted to bring this up.
in it, in the writing of it. And
I loved the memes at release when it was like, "Oh, George San, look at this spooky crab that I drew."
Yeah,
It's like,
his name,
name that.
his name is this, and he's the cursed reincarnation of somebody's long
Yeah, a
lost
fallen king.
grandnephew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so insightful.
Spooky crab number 3.
I mean, spooky lobsters are probably the actual worst enemies in the game.
Dude, the lobsters that
I
fucking
hate them.
snipe you.
Dude, oh, they're the worst.
Yo, imagine
Absolutely.
the DLC loads out and the boss you have to beat to get to like the actual first part of the DLC is just 6 lobsters in a small arena.
A poison arena.
The entire DLC is a poison swamp.
Yeah.
No torrent.
I was just trying to find there was a couple of recent Twitter threads, and like one of them is basically just like going through and showing all the parallels between the lore and here
Eric Adams.
with Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
And
I saw that same thread.
Wish I could find it. I'm not really seeing.
I mean, I think there's a lot of.
We know that George didn't do a lot of work on it because anything George actually has to do work on takes him legitimately forever to do anything.
But I would just like ask, like, what's your favorite aspect of the lore? What did you find most engaging about like the actual kind of story in the background and the how the NPCs are fit in this world, and then where you as the Tarnished kind of fit in as this kind of cipher to take it all in.
I was fascinated by the world underneath
Mm.
and like the world of like Noxtella.
Noxtella and is it Seophora, Seophora?
Yeah.
Seophora River.
Yeah, definitely the most beautiful parts of the game. But I was like watching a video yesterday, and it's like that's the part that also I'm like the most confused by, because it's like they're like, oh, this like predates the Erdtree, but like it also like doesn't have really anything to do with like even the Crucible or shit like that. So it's like where exactly it takes place in any sense of timeline, and how it kind of how it relates to the rest of the kind of mythos and cosmology. I don't quite have all the pieces in my head put together of how that fits in.
I
Or
just
like
like I like the aspect of like the ancient civilization fallen below um due to the rise of the Erdtree and the Golden Order above.
yeah, and like even where is it physically? Like it's not, it is its own
It is
separate.
absolutely underground. I'm
It's
telling
Hollow
you.
Earth. It's
I know,
it's a
but
Hollow
like,
Earth. They have their own
All the
stars.
all those
yeah.
twilight stars you see, that's just crystals
Mm.
twinkling in the light.
And it's
Okay,
in my
okay.
opinion, it's Hollow Earth. We all
Yeah,
love
it's
Hollow
Hollow
Earth.
Earth. You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm with you there.
I'm just upset that you don't fight a giant monkey in the depths.
Missed opportunity. Although you get a
You
giant
do
Truly.
fight
moose.
two
Yeah.
two dragonkin soldiers down in the
Yeah.
two Nokron and
Yeah.
Noxtella areas.
Yep.
You fight them, and yeah, the big moosin.
I like the big moose.
And some giant ass gargoyles, dude. That's where all the kaiju are.
That is true.
Is that where the what's it called,
The Vanguard
the
gargoyles,
Vanguard
or
gargoyles, or is that the one, is that the one that everybody hates?
Yes.
yes,
Or
Oh my
Valiant
God,
Gargoyle? Is
yes.
it
The
Valiant
Valiant.
Gargoyles? Is that what it
Valiant.
is?
Yeah.
That everybody hates. I fucking easy clapped them. I don't know. I was like so confused of like why everybody
Everyone
was.
always hates a gank boss, and more particularly, they hate gank bosses that do AOE attacks.
Like I don't
The
remember
two of
having
them.
I don't remember having any trouble with them. I don't know if I was
No,
just
they.
over leveled or something, but I just like I clapped their respective cheeks and was just went on my
Love a
merry
good
way.
cheek clap.
No, they might have been like for me the biggest challenge outside of Melania.
I know that people like will say that too, like in like all the people who do these ridiculous challenge runs will be like, yeah, Valiant Gargoyles are the hardest.
Yeah,
Like the
if
hardest
you're
ones
doing
for
a
me.
randomizer and say the bosses are desynced from their rewards, and you're trying to find the final reward to be able to pass through, and you're like, fuck, is it really with Valiant Gargoyles? I don't want to fight them.
The speaking of randomizers, the funniest one that I it's more just how these creators just like were reacting to it. They're loading into Stormvale, they're about to fight, it's like where Margit should be, and they're like, thinking about like the little
Fire
area,
giant.
and they're like, yeah, they're constantly like, yeah, like who's it gonna be? Fire giant, like on this little bridge, but instead of fire giant, it's just like Radon, just like fucking just pile drives them. Just does like the meteor shower right
Oh
down
God.
onto the bridge. It's just like, oh fuck,
One of the
because
funnier
he's
ones.
huge
He's
too.
huge. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the funnier ones I've seen was it was Gideon, and like, oh, that's easy. And it's like, oh shit, actually Gideon with his full arsenal at the start of the game is actually
Oh
kind of a
yeah,
problem.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder how they do that, because Gideon can be one of the most interesting boss fights, because
Yeah, because his
his
moveset is catered to what you've done.
who you've beaten already,
Yeah.
and so it's
And
like
what you've explored.
Yeah, so it's like, what moves is he pulling from then? How do they
They
determine
give
that?
him his full arsenal. They give him a full, as if you would be.
It's like, motherfucker, go back to reading books. Because I also easy clapped him. Like he was
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you go in at the first time when he just talks at you.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah,
some
I
really
easy
there's
clapped him as
some
well.
really funny modded bits of that where it's just like he's just you know, he's sitting there talking, doing in his little pose, and you just like run up and just like fucking punch him through the through the fog gate. Just insta kill him with a single punch. It's pretty funny. Or when they turn into a tank and the
I mean,
they've
I played Elden Ring as an F-16. Was quite the.
yeah.
Not an F-35.
No, because
I mean,
if it rains, if you go to the Weeping Peninsula, you're gonna die.
Crash, instant crash.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of the lore though, like any other like elements that I mean, I just really enjoyed the idea of like the kind of the warring children, right? Of the
oh yeah,
you know, all the demigods and figuring out
it's the
where
most
they
realistic simulator of that type of a fucked up family.
absolutely, and it's like definitely the most grounded piece of the entire story. But then you just have like people like Rykard, who's just off doing his own absolutely weird and deranged
Oh,
Yep.
thing. But he's
Mhm.
like,
Yep.
I'm just going.
Heinous stuff.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
absolutely crazy and ridiculous, and probably one of the worst of the bunch. But he's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go do that over here." You know, like
Yeah.
Him and Moog are like
Yeah, Mo.
both doing absolutely like ridiculously bad shit. But they're like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna do it in my own little area. You all
Like
can
there's a
fight each
knock on
other."
Moog's
And
door, and he opens it, and it's like, I'm Chris Hansen. I'd like to have a seat with you.
Just
like, no,
every
no, like, no,
every
no, no. He just looks like a child. He just looks like a child.
He's 1,000 years old.
every royal family dynasty has to have a couple of freaks just kind of on the periphery of it.
Yeah.
That's
And I
how it
mean,
works.
it's all
Well,
masterminded by Morgoth. I mean, that was the I enjoyed that reveal. The you know, I was an abomination of the family, but I'm the one, who secretly sits the throne and
Mm.
make sure the Erdtree stays protected.
Last King, baby.
I loved his whole monologue. Just shit talking all his siblings.
Yeah, that is a very good monologue. What is he? Oh, yeah, like he talks about all of them traitors. Oh,
Yeah.
something about he does a callback to his line about like fueled by the flame of ambition and all this,
Yeah.
and where he's like, and again, he's probably one of the most tragic figures in that sense. Is like, yeah, abandoned by and shunned, like gone to the literal shunning grounds, and abandoned by the Golden Order, yet becomes its like staunchest protector and defender. Is like completely beholden to this thing that has, you know, viewed him
Destroyed
as
him.
this kind of vile abomination.
Yeah, because I mean he's a child of the old ways, those horns. They mean he's evil, obviously.
Imagine what it was like for America to give birth to those two twins with all them horns growing. Oh boy,
Oof.
that's some body horror for you.
I don't remember the exact order. I think Morgoth was first there, but like Morgoth comes out and you're like, wow, he's really fucking ugly, but like that's okay, I guess. And I just like to assume Moog comes out like, nope,
Whoa!
throw that one in the dumpster. That one's
Whoa!
Yeah. Drop that one off at the fire station.
Oh no. But then yeah, Ronnie's quest line is the most interesting to me, and like
well,
the
you'd said that Rykard's off doing his own thing, but the other like Melania and Mikola are really off. Well, Mikola's not doing anything at the current moment.
I mean, but
Mikola's
not really. Like,
cocooning.
Melania was very much involved in the wars, right? Like her and Radon,
Yeah.
their whole fight, and leading armies against each other and all that shit, which has led to like the ridiculous discourse, like who actually wins in that fight, and a prime Radon and and all that. It's
mean,
like her.
If you do the actual bosses pitted against each other as the game presents them, Melania beats most, if not all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that one's like the logic, like, oh, like that
Life steal's kind of broken.
Yeah, but that Melania had to go nuclear in order to defeat Radon in his prime. Like that she had to succumb to the bloom in order to beat him. That's like the constant refrain you hear.
That's just because there are Radon heads out there who
Oh.
can't imagine that their king being beaten by a woman.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
not a clean victory. That's performance enhancing.
No one's saying it's low diff. Obviously power scaling terms, it's high diff city level.
Melania used cheese.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're almost at for time, so I want to just, before we go over endings, it's largely again a question for Matt. Let's give your most and least favorite bosses. But whether in terms of challenge, design, sense of accomplishment, story.
So I'm gonna jump in. Radon's my favorite, just because of Leonard.
Okay.
Yeah, I do love the memes that I've seen again a lot recently of the Torrent has a double jump and still takes fall damage, and then it's just the Wojak of a horse, and it just says dies, and then it's Radon, and it's Leonard prepared to be hit by the entire force of the atmosphere, and it's just Chad horse. Yes, my general.
Leonard is a great facet of Radon. Radon is like, from a spectacle standpoint, might be my favorite fight. From a accomplishment,
Radon is the gang's all here.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah. From
I love how when you summon Patches, he just fucked right off.
I mean,
Patches has returned to his own world.
Nope, I'm not doing that. Patches
Not
said
today.
that's an MP. That's a YP, not an MP. But Melania for me is probably my favorite. Just like the sense of accomplishment beating her, it was electric. I still have the video.
Everyone can remember the first time they survived waterfowl dance.
Yeah.
Like the first time you survive waterfowl dance, you're like, holy shit, it is livable.
They say for me, it was the first time I lived the phase transition.
That's the next game.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god. Like, oh my god.
I can win this fight.
I didn't explode and die and hemorrhage from every orifice.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, she's definitely my favorite, just from a accomplishment and like overall beating that boss perspective. I do also really love the I can't remember his name. He's the one that is kind of like a tiger shape. It's not the Beast Master. He kind of looks like him though.
Oh, from early on, the like where you get the what's it called? He's like type one. It's like the first time you see one of the Beastmen, or he's not. No, not one of the Beastmen. Oh fuck. Is it like it's like kind of near the shores? It's kind of like near the shores.
No. I misspoke. Malekith is who I'm talking about. Malekith.
Okay. Malekith is a fun one.
I mean, he's got one of the coldest the coldest kind of like anime lines that you've like ever seen during the phase transition.
And he's got a sick transition. But they're all so good. Like I could honestly just talk about each one. Like I really don't have one I dislike outside of the Godskin Nobles. They were my least favorite.
I would agreed, but I would just like to go back to, you slipped into a Baltimore accent or like a Philly accent for like a second, and it was really weird. Yeah,
interesting.
I forget what word it was that you said, but whatever word you had to repeat. Yeah, that was it. There you go. Yeah, you're watching too much Stav.
so I have one that's like complete, like will seem completely underwhelming in terms of like how it corresponds to or how it relates to the overall kind of gallery of the major bosses. But like the one that really sticks out to me is like the like this is an Elden Ring. You know, I'm doing an Elden Ring type thing was very early in the game, very very early. It was because my experience was I started off as a samurai build and made my way into the cave. I'm blanking on the name of the cave, where you're going to get a bunch of smithing stones,
Mm.
and how the boss at the end is a troll, is one of the big trolls,
Ah,
and
rock digger troll,
and
stone digger troll.
I was just getting my shit absolutely rocked, and like I was not having a good time.
Yeah,
But then just
you're using a sharp bladed bleed weapon against a man made of rock.
yeah, so it was just not a fun time. So I switched to a the prisoner build and had like the it was a much
The
better
glint
fit.
blade,
Yeah, it's a much better
glintstone
fit
blade.
for my style. And so I beat him, and so that's not the boss, and that's not the sense of accomplishment, but it was the spectacle of this moment. It's like, yes, I feel really good about myself now. It's like, wow, I'm actually enjoying this game now. I feel so good about myself. I'm strolling out whistling a happy merry tune as I come out of the cave. I just beat this boss, and then just swooping down then is just flying dragon Agheel, who just comes like
Agheel is definitely the Elden Ring moment that they give you in Limgrave.
and I'm just like, again, strolling down, what a beautiful day, and just this dragon just comes out of fucking nowhere, just dive bombs, and it was just one of the like
My favorite part about
one of the
that
Joseph
is
Joestar, oh my god moments.
like once you figure the dragons out, they're actually pretty easy. So it's like going back and doing Agheel a second time is so like you fucking dominate them. Her, I think Agheel's a girl.
Bonk
Actually,
him on the head. They are weak on their noggins. Um, yes, that one was like definitely a highlight for me. I feel like I had an idea for like my least favorite boss, but I kind of see I must have like memory hold it.
but while
Oh,
you think
some of
about it, I'll say my
the tree
favorite.
sentinels. I know it's not like it's
Oh,
a
that's
field
it. Yeah,
boss,
no, that's
but
it.
yeah,
It's some of the tree sentinels, like some of the draconic tree
yeah,
sentinels fucking
yes,
suck.
suck. Yep,
And
Yeah,
hundred percent.
particularly when there's two of them, that fucking sucked so bad.
Yep,
And I had to cheese the shit out of them.
yep,
I ran past them and gated or
yeah,
and baited one of them through the gate where he shouldn't be going. So he kept trying to turn around. And so I would
yeah, and
go get
back
his
up.
attention, do some damage, and then he would do,
I
just
did the
do it
same
over and
thing.
over again. So then I could fight the other one real. Like, oh my God, that sucked.
Yep,
That sucked. Yeah, that's it for
100%.
me. It's the Draconic Tree Sentinels I don't
Yep,
like.
worst enemies in the game, worst bosses.
so my favorite boss is Godfrey. I really enjoy that fight.
Godfrey or Warrior Horulu or
It's a
Horulu
both.
Warrior.
That's two people in one fight. They're
So
both part of the.
which part of it do you like the best?
I mean, I prefer the Horaloo part just because I
Warrior.
I like the chaos that he brings and just how it's like nonstop man trying to kill you with his bare fucking hands.
Yeah, he fucked me up quite a decent
Yeah.
amount.
No, he's
Gold
I've
Gold
got the
Free
read
was
on
super
his axe
easy.
phase.
Gold
So
Free
like
was super
gold
easy.
free on reruns is a super easy
I mean,
fight.
dude, Goldfree is so weak to just to the glintstone blade. Your literal starting spell. You just spam that and it just fucking annihilates him. He's so weak to that.
he was super easy.
And I have a least favorite boss that hasn't been mentioned, and that's the ulcerated tree spirits.
Ooh, because those don't have those don't even have full boss bars. The one for
Some
Millicent's
of them
quest.
do, because there's
Oh,
some
okay,
in.
okay. So I'm thinking of the one for Millicent's quest that you have to
That's the
clear out.
worst of them,
Mhm.
but there's a couple in like caves or catacombs that you'll run into at
Dude,
the
that
end.
one is so bad just because you're either dying to rot or you're just falling off the edge. It's terrible. It's so bad. Oh my god.
Or you become enlightened and you stand on the branch.
Yep, that's what I did.
I mean, I did little bits of like kind of baiting him to and fro, but then he would just kind of figure out my nonsense and come up and spit some shit at me. Gnarly. Yeah, no, that's a good call. That's a good call.
My only complaint about them is that they just feel like a Bloodborne enemy in Elden Ring from like a speed and aggressiveness standpoint.
Yeah. And they just
Especially when you fight. There's
undulate like
one
a
that you
crazy
fight in
worm.
particular that's not. That's a horrible arena. There's one you fight in a really small enclosed arena so that you don't fall to your death, but you just get pinned in a
Oh yeah,
corner.
there's one underground. There's one
Yeah.
underground. I don't remember that. I don't remember struggling with that one as much. But it was the one in the Halleck tree that really fucked me up. That one was not fun. All right, so we'll
Least favorite
end.
boss is Gravity.
Yeah, we'll end it
Yeah.
with our discussion of endings here. I'm pretty sure. Let's say so. Mike is the only unenlightened one who has not actually beaten the game. Little
Yes.
little bitch made guy needs to go back and actually he needs to find the power within himself to kill God
Well, I'm
and
purchasing my PS5 copy at the moment,
create and
so
create a new God. Um, but yeah, I know Andrew and I both did the Age of Stars ending.
Indeed.
And Matt,
Yeah,
that
my
was
my my wife.
that was your first ending too, right?
Yes.
Um,
My first
so
and most meaningful.
so for you, yeah, what do you think is the best ending? And what do you think if you had to like say and whatever you can give whatever reasoning you think, like if you had to say that that one of them is like a true ending, which would you pick?
I would say the
I think there's
closest
between
thing
two. There's
I'd say
two
the
that
closest thing to a true ending is Age of Stars. Just from what goes into it from a side content standpoint, it has the longest, most played out side story. Um, it has the most, relatively
to
speaking,
Andrew's point
satisfying
of
conclusion.
that it felt almost like it really was just part of the main game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't even get to like the Liurnia Divine Tower without doing it.
Yep.
Right.
Um, so that's my opinion there. I definitely can see the argument about Frenzied Flame
That's what I was
having
gonna say.
some layer of true ending to it.
That's what I was gonna say. It's one of those two. It's the two that create and completely upend the established order, and create new quote unquote futures for the lands
Yeah.
between. Because the Frenzied Flame really is not much of a future at all.
No.
Like
I
No.
mean, there
No.
was a whole like flow chart that people made of like the Elden Ring endings and then like leading into different like the Soulsborne
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
where they were saying like Frenzied Flame leads to Dark Souls, Age of Fracture leads to Demon Souls, Age of Stars leads to Bloodborne, and there was one of them that leads to Sekiro. I don't remember which. Maybe Blessings of Despair. What beautiful titles all of these endings
yeah,
have.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it is so rarely do these games ever have like a good ending, but like this is like as happy as could be expected.
Yeah.
Is the
I
Age of
think I
Stars?
think Age of Stars is the relatively speaking happiest ending,
Yeah.
depending on your outlook.
And to me, I think it flows the most with what From Software's kind of storytelling ethos is that, like, you must be willing to, it's this kind of, for me, it strikes a chord because it is it's similar to some of my professional work that I've been doing lately, that's focusing on this idea of prophecy and what it means to be a prophet, and to do like prophetic justice making um is all about the idea of, they call it futuring. So it's the which is something that is inherently like kind of anti-capitalist, anti-status quo. It's all about, it is anti something that says that there is only one path forward, that there is only one way to exist, that like we must be willing to, like, kind of as Ronnie says, like basically embrace the cold night ahead of uncertainty, and be willing to kind of chart not just a new future, but new futures, plural. That there is, that we can't allow
But
ourselves
also,
to, like, that the worlds that
Age of
they,
Stars leads to the most relative self autonomy of the rest of the lands between, because you and Ronnie are off to explore the stars and not sit over and lord uh, necessarily in the same way.
and it allows for the possibility
Revolution.
of like kind of like solidarity as well, right? That like that, that we're all alone, so that the only thing that we can do is kind of band together and create meaning with each other. Like, that's like, rather than having our meaning dictated by this kind of alienated force, represented by the greater will and all this, like, that the worlds that From Software creates are these stagnant places where no change happens. Like, that's the whole idea of, like, the shattering, or like the shattering of the Elden Ring, and like the plucking of the ring of, or the rune of death, and all that shit, that like literally nothing changes, that things are just kind of in this eternal state of, like, it's like this kind of um paradox of like stasis but decay at the same time, and that the only way to create something new is to be willing to
Let the past die.
let the past die, but also like be willing to like fuck everything up,
Kill it if you have to.
Yeah.
So it's, like the Age of Stars represents this possibility of things being very dark and very uncertain.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Um,
dog. You seen what comes from the stars? It's still kind of terrifying, dog.
yeah. So that's why I
Imagine you
found,
like walk outside and see a giant fucking celestial centipede skull monster
yeah,
Mm.
repeat.
descending from the heavens with
So, like,
gravity magic.
that's like kind of what I take from it, is that it is a daunting task, but one that is possible when done together. And that's kind of what I read into the Age of Stars ending, and what I think it's
Frenzied Flame is the opposite. It's I don't believe in any of you.
because I don't believe in any of you, so I'm going to burn it all down. It's like, it's the flip side. It's like, yes, the future as you've laid out for us is going nowhere, has no hope, has no possibility for growth. So burn it to the ground. But it's the nihilistic version of it, right?
Yes.
Whereas like the Age of the Stars is still tearing down the old order, but it's like the willingness to go explore, to see what else can be possible. Whereas Frenzied Flame is literally just, nope, it's time to end.
You see, the real Chads do Frenzied Flame after Melina has already immolated. So it's not even to save her.
It's because you truly believe.
Yeah.
All right. All right, folks. That's going to do it
God,
for us
that's
today.
dark.
I think we all have high hopes for Shadow of the Erdtree.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait for all the Vati lore videos to
I'm hoping
drop.
that we fight like in her prime Melina with her golden dagger.
Yeah, I'm like wondering, like, are you gonna fight Mikola? Are you going to, is there gonna, who's like gonna be like actual end boss is. I don't necessarily know that like Mesmer, the guy who's been shown, is going to be
It's
like
almost assuredly not.
not the true end boss.
The guy that they always put on like the forefront of their DLCs always ends up being like the third boss you face.
I mean, I think he's got a bigger role to play than that, but like I don't
Yeah.
think I would say that he's like the penultimate boss.
I'm just saying Artorias in Dark Souls 1, second DLC boss. Lady Maria Bloodborne, third DLC boss. Sekiro didn't have
Nameless
DLC.
King.
Hmm?
Isn't the Nameless King a DLC boss? And
No, Nameless King
Dark
is
Souls
a
3?
base game.
He is optional though, right? He's one of the
Yeah, he's an optional base game boss.
That was it.
I don't remember who. I mean, Slave Knight Gale isn't the cover boy of any of the Ring City. I guess Midir might be the cover boy of Ring City. I'd have to go back and look at the stuff for that for Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, so what are your greatest hopes though for the DLC? It's supposed to be 30 hours. They're saying 30 hours, which definitely means it's longer than that.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they flesh out a couple like status effect combos that are cool that didn't get a time to shine. Like I'd like to see more of the ice lightning. I thought the ice lightning was a cool idea.
I love playing with elements like that. That is cool.
Because like it's like ice lightning, blood flame, like stuff like that's cool.
Yeah, I just hope that it doesn't punish me too much for being in New Game Plus.
Nah, you'll be
I
fine.
hope that New Game Plus version of the DLC has different bosses.
Yeah.
Where it's
okay.
expecting you to have already played the regular version, so it's like here's like the Omega version.
Yeah. Oh no.
He has 1.5 billion health.
All right. So yeah, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about that in the weeks to come as that actually drops and we get our hands on it and start playing. But this has all just been in anticipation to kind of get ourselves mentally prepared and in the zone to journey back to the lands between and beyond, to the lands of shadow. All right, folks.
Can't wait.
That'll do it for us today. We will see you next time with I think we're on to
Street Fighter.
part 2 of our Call of Cthulhu. We'll talk about that though, because we have actually 2 off weeks in June. But next week actually might be the best week for me to do it because I'll be pretty busy with work that other weekend. So expect that next week, and then the week after we are doing Street Fighter with Jean-Claude himself.
Hell yeah.
Excited for that.
Damn.
Till then, you can support us by following us at twitch.tv/campaignComrades. Be sure to give us a follow and that Prime sub if you can swing it. We would be really appreciative. Show us some love.
Do it to us if
there.
you can't swing it too.
No, why not? All right, but that'll do it for today. Thank you, boys, for this lovely discussion. We will continue on the next one.